Okay, guys, good day. This is the raw truth. Reading between the lines. I am your host, aka Darren. So I'm here to do the assessment of the last election. I wanted to be in my gear, like I was interviewed on TVJ up at Belmont Road. And I see you guys enjoyed that video when I was up in Belmont Road celebrating the election victory with my fellow Jamaicans. And I thank you guys. So I'm going to say this from early. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And I would really like this video, this one, to be shared with my assessment. I've listened to a lot of opinions and post-election, the post-election victory at the JLP. And I've not listened to anyone from the opposition People's National Party. I just didn't see anything that need to listen to get their assessment. But remind you, I've listened to them prior to the election and their piece what they presented. I just want to get into it and get in a few topics. Let me first start it with I have my notes here. And for some strange reason I do feel relaxed. It's not rush. I feel my work as was being rushed, but I guess, anxiety prior to the election. Confident, but anxiety. And you can see on my interview that I did predicted up in Belmont Road, I predicted that it seems as if it's going to be a 35 seat victory tonight for JLP. I originally predicted 41. I'm somewhere kind of right. I'm going to cheat a little bit, but election night up in Belmont Road, I said it seems as if it's going to be a 35 seat count victory, and indeed ended up being was 34 election night, and I think the day after, something like that, it went up to 34. So I was correct with that. And I'm telling you, I've been right with my election predictions for years now. And it's been on record, but this is the first one that goes on record, especially public in Jamaica. I'm telling you, a lot of people see me election night, and I saw you on TV, at the hotels, my friends, family, everybody, they see me on TV. So if I personally haven't seen that clip, but I will continue to search for it until I find it. I probably have to call TVJ myself. So let me get 3 minutes. Let me get into it. I hate to have you guys wait through my presentation. So after the smart goaling issue topic, you probably can basically just move on to another video. I know I shouldn't say that because I want you guys to enjoy my full video. But let me start with Mark Golding first. And start with Mark Golding is it, should he resign or should he stay the course? So, yeah, look up in my nose. And this, all right, let me take it from this way, this avenue. Mark Golding should not say resign, but retire. And one single factor is age. Is age. Mark Golding. Okay, so Mark Golding will be 65. I make my notes so I'll get everything right. Because I know I go left, go right, and come back, and sometimes I lose my train of thought. My train of thought, and sometimes I forgot to further discuss a topic that I was discussing earlier. So I make my notes in front, and this is a relaxed piece, and we can just, take our time as we go along. So Mark Golding will be 65 in 2030. Now, if there's no snap election and this parliament goes through the full course of 2030, he will be 65. If Mark Golding wins in 2030, For him to be effective and um make changes to benefit the people of Jamaica or is standing in the party, it will be going close to 70. Now I'm not saying at 65, at 70 you cannot be an effective leader in politics, because we have seen politicians that have worked late in age, and even health crisis don't stop them or prevent them from staying the course or staying, as being a representative of the people, or being members of cabinet, or being leader of a country. We have seen it time and time again where politicians have stayed late, even in the 80s and stuff. But I'm thinking, at to be an effective leader close to the age of 70, I do not know how much that will how much he will be able to. And then, like I said, they may not go about sickness or whatever, but I don't think it would be wise for him to stay to that late in age to wait to become a prime minister and to effectively lead and make his mark on the political landscape in Jamaica. I know we are being sensational and looking at the fact that he had led the People National Party to an impressive showing in local government election, and he has doubled the seat count in the last recently concluded general election, where the PNP did not lose none of their 14 seats and gained 14 seats in the process. And that's impressive itself in some way, but I'll explain that a little later too. So we're saying, okay, that's a leader that did well, but do not lose the point that he lost the local government election and he still lost the general election. So while it may be impressive, just like in track and field, 0.01 of a second you still lose, and you go down in history as the loser. And nothing gonna change whoever that gold medal winner is, unless some blood tests come back in the future that they tested positive for that. So besides that, and I've been commentating on politics again with my group on Politics Time on Facebook. I've said it before that the PNP has found itself in leadership crisis, and that is from the ending the post-Patricia led time as Prime Minister. I will not get into it, but I've stated it before, and I still think the PNP is in a leadership crisis. Now, what Mark Golding have done is bring some kind of stability in terms of a lead of the PNP, which is impressive, showing in the local government election and the general election. But whatever the PNP has gained in terms of leadership of the party, they can quickly lose it if he do stay on to run for election again in 2030. Because again, it's an age factor. And I'm not saying age doesn't make you an effective leader, but in politics, it is also proving that younger leader refreshes, energize the party base, probably energize Jamaica too, and change also could be better. And when you look at many like G20 countries and stuff, leaders usually resign after they lost. And Mr. Golding had 4 years as opposition leader, 3 to 4 years, and he still lost. And now he's facing 5 more years as opposition leader. He was never prime minister like Kamna Bissessa of Trinidad and Tobago, which is sitting and she has returned to power. You understand? But that is on the PNP if you want to sit with my goal to be 65 and to wait to run for election again in 2030. I think they will have a better chance if Mr. Golding retire. And it's not out of fear of losing to Mr. Golding in the next election cycle, even if it's local government election cycle. I'm just thinking for the PNP, it will be better for them to it will be better for Mr. Golding to hand in his resignation from as leader of the party and retire from politics and give the PNP a fresh start. I think they should go ahead and round up some leaders who they think that can move the party forward. That's on them. I only have my opinion of what I think it should be. Garden from that funny thing that replaces Peter Philip from, I think it's East Central. What was it? East Central St. Andrew that run against Vassal. Keeping an eye on him, but I do have an eye for talent. And he's probably a dark horse to become the next leader of the People's National Party. Everybody talk about Crawford and probably Bunty Wine is shot and stuff like that. But I mean, even Isaac Buchanan that just defeat Amari Vaz over here in Portland, even he seems promising. And yes, we're going to talk about Isaac Buchanan pass, but everybody has a pass. And is what you do with your present, and that could make your future great. So it's up to the members of the PNP to decide who you want. But that is my take on that. Wow, 30 minutes running around about Mark Golding. So let me move on. My next topic. The next topic about the rumbling of the Prime Minister's seat count, whether he won that seat or not. And Andrew Stevenson's PNP blogger was one time a nemesis to Mark Golding. Had expressed that to PNP supporters that the Prime Minister gave one his seat. And that's like the US election, One is a timing issue and one is a location issue. But US is time and location. Whereas the East Coast is 3 hours ahead of the West Coast. And if the numbers usually go tradition, we have to wait until the numbers from the West Coast in the United States coming to see who actually win their presidential election. So it's the same thing, and the same thing within even the United States. It depends on where the ballot coming from. If the ballot coming from a pro-democratic area, when Republican leading, you still have to wait until, the numbers are almost finished counting all the ballots to decide who. And that's simple what happened with Mr. Onis. Regard the ballots. And also people must remind you why another Buchanan, Paul Buchanan, who ran against the Prime Minister, Mr. Onis, why Paul Buchanan was leading in that constituency. Remember, it seemed as if he was leading for a long time, but remember there were no changes. From what I was observing when I was at Belmont Road, there were no changes to the numbers. The numbers had stuck for a while in that constituency. So it shows as if Mr. Buchanan was leading for a long time. But in fact that he was leading, but there was no changes to that constituency until I don't know what caused that. That's something have to be looked into to find out what caused that. But let me say this. I was going to say this to the end of my piece, but let me say this now. Remember that this election was keenly observed. CAFE, the Center for Free and Fair Election, and other international institutions, and it was they all gave high praises. And also these observers for the election include PNP members. Again, Gates and Campbell is an election observer, are part of a team that observe and oversee our election function and carried out. And the election was given high praises of how it was conducted. So I do not know why is it that there's rumbling from same Gates and Campbell, but more so the party leader Mark Golding about worrisome or problematic election counting, especially in the prime minister seat. Now, with the prime minister seat, let me give some numbers why why Mark Golding need to stop this kind of negative presentation whenever it comes to the public. It was grossly done throughout the election campaign, and even after the election result, and it was and he had conceded, and with election being praised as was respectfully done the right way, seemed to keep on knocking at, as I said, beating a dead horse, and it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know why it kept on going on like that. Now, we have a 63 parliamentary seat in our parliament, in our election system. 22 of those seats we have straight up winner. It doesn't matter if PNP or JLP. 22 of those seats numbers are higher than what the Prime Minister won his seat by. The Prime Minister won his seat with about 2,101. But you could give and take a few numbers. It could be 2,199. It could be 20, 50. You can just throw out numbers. But from what I have, the Prime Minister won his seat by 2,101 votes. There are 22 seats that you don't have to worry about. Those seats were higher numbers than the Prime Minister. But why is it that you stuck on the primary seat when in North Clarendon, Hines won by less than 100 votes? Just about 68. Let me give you the numbers. Like again, I'm saying you could give or take a few votes. It could be 50, it could be 85. It doesn't matter. In Central Kingston, Williams eventually outlasted McGregor and won by 17 votes. I think that number was higher, 79. That's what I'm talking about. In favor seats, the finance minister won by 438 votes. Yvette Shaw and St. Thomas, that beat Charles, won by 400 something votes. ISAT, that beat Anne-Marie, won by 135 votes. Chris Brown, that beat Donny St. Mary, this won by 11 votes. Nikisha Bertrand, won by 207 votes. So you pass all those seats. How many of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You pass 7 of those seats that are basically really marginal to jump 7 seats to jump to the Prime Minister seat. Mark Golding, That's what you did? The time run out for you to apply for magisterial recount. You say, nah, there's no need, there's no way to overturn these. Because remember, after election and these seats are declared, there's still official vote. That's why Williams in Central Kingston was able to overtake McGregor after the official recount. And then after the official recount, if you're still not satisfied, you could apply for magisterial recount, which they would do a more detailed way of counting. I think also it even could prevent the person from taking up the seat as a winner. And you pass those seats, let the time run out to make some problem about the prime minister seat because his vote victory came in too late. And as a politician, you should know these things happen. Again, it's wherever the vote's coming from. Now, that's one issue with these marginal seats where the winner, probably win by even less than 1% or 1% or somewhere there. Like I said, less than 100 votes and stuff like that. But there are 5 seats. I don't know if I include the Prime Minister seat, but there are 5 seats that were just right, give it the number. Warren Newby lost his seat to Azan by 499 votes. And Rhoda Crawford Bill won her seat by 182 votes in central Manchester. And now West Clarendon, Azan beat my friend Warren Newby. You see? But so we have 2 groups. One that was, definitely an outright winner, these marginal seats. But there are also 5 seats, like I said, I don't know if it include the Prime Minister seat that was basically close enough, like probably about the same 2100 vote differential between the winner and the loser. And you left all those seats. I didn't list those seats. I didn't see the need to list those seats. But you left all those seats to find problem with the Prime Minister seat. Something is wrong. Something seems wrong. I was watching Jamaica 411 piece, and somebody wrote in a piece that it probably was in the work to steal the Prime Minister's seat, and it backfired. Because I heard there was some technical problem, electrical problem, whatever there may be. It doesn't matter. Now, let me just touch this topic for a little bit. And then, let me just touch this topic. But let me go back to what I discussed a little earlier. I tell you with my notes, but it reminded me. Now, also, remember I started my piece earlier with the opposition leader, H. Mark Golding. Now, the IC saga, I think what helped, I was going to summarize it at the end, but I'm going to say this now. The IC saga, I think, is what helps the PNP show. One of the reasons. There are other reasons, but one of the reasons. Now, but the reason why I mentioned the IC saga now, the Integrity Commission, and its refusal to certify the Prime Minister financial declaration was that. Now, what happened if the IC issue is resolved, say in 2 years, and again Mark will be 65 in 2030? Will that make him electable if the IC, because the IC issue will resolve? The Prime Minister is no fool. He knows that it can be an issue again in 2030, because sometimes this issue lasts many cycles of elections. So if the IC issue is resolved and the Prime Minister comes out blameless or not guilty or whatever term that make the Prime Minister show the Prime Minister clean. I wonder if that shows up in the video. My daughter just texted me. it may still be a good idea for Mark Golding to stay on as opposition leader to face the electorate in 2030 if the IC issue resolve and shows that the Prime Minister did nothing wrong. So that's another thing I want viewers and sympathizers of the PNP to look at to see if that's a good reason to keep the Prime Minister. Remember, you're not trying to keep him on because it gig will, right? You understand? You're looking, go forward ahead. You have to be steps ahead and preparing yourself for election victory in 2013 if there's no snap election. And that's another reason I wanted to look if the IC issue get resolved. And I think it will get resolved. I think it will show the Prime Minister did nothing wrong. And what would that make of Mark Golding when he's facing electorate in 2030? There you go again. Now, we'll move along. Yes, and I may also say that, as Mr. Vega said, the IC just did cost the Jamaica Labour Party a few seats. And let me even further comment on that. While I spoke to many supporters of the PNP prior to the election, and yes, it did create a lot of damage and the image of the JLP with the leader Andrew Onyes. The Integrity Commission did, because when I speak to supporters, they're saying corruption and gainful financial gains, unlawful financial gains. That's what I was trying to say. That is an issue, and we Jamaicans were reaching. I mean, the corruption is been a big reason why we have changed government over the years, and that's what it did make his mark with Mr. Golding, set out to damage the Prime Minister image that he is cannot be trusted with monetary matters because of his integrity is compromised. I see integrity compromise, which is as the Prime Minister, run with the Integrity Commission issue against the Prime Minister. So it did. So another reasons I think why the Prime Minister while the PNP did better than expected was also when I went to Jamaica, you could see, moving around Jamaica, you could see things being done and the country moving forward in a positive way. But in certain areas, things remain the same. And I know it is hard for people to give a third term when you already give it 2 terms and they don't see anything wrong. That's why I'm glad the Prime Minister, Msegis, was watching my videos and realized that he has to let people know that if there's no money, which Jamaica was broke, nothing can be done. Jamaica wasn't broke under the Onyes administration. Jamaica being broke under the Golding, Simpson Miller, and the party administration, and the brokenness and Jamaica going down from a financial standpoint. The architect of that was, we all know, is former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson. So when he left and Bruce Golding took over, well, Portia took over, it doesn't matter. They were trying moving Jamaica from that everybody that we have. Remember, like they said, it was at least 130% debt on every dollar. So imagine you earn $1 and every month you have to pay $1.30. How could you manage? But the Golding administration and Portia Simpson administration was, taking your time and getting it get down. and that present a great opportunity for Mr. Onus. And you have to be committed. That's why you have to give Mr. Onus a credit. I definitely give Bruce and Portia a credit, but you have to give Mr. Onus a credit that he's committed and was creative in bringing the get down the way it is. So the IC did cost, but there was, back to what I was saying, there wasn't much the IC and Jamaica electorate is about what they can get, and which I figure the reason why Mr. Golden did so well in the 2020 election, the COVID election, because what they were getting with all the funds that were being given away, which is the right thing to do. That's what the country was doing with the citizen. And so when you're not seeing so much physical changes, especially in Kingston and St. Andrew, certain areas, you don't see much changes or changes for the better. And yes, I've went across Jamaica and it pretty much was looking the same. But what you have to understand, what Mr. Onus is doing is fixing the infrastructure of Jamaica, the main support system, the vertebrae after the body, was building it and keeping it strong and good, so that the other parts will come in too, and we have a strong support system. And so I think this third term, you will see more positive, to see more changes what's going on in Jamaica. So yeah, that's my coworker just came in. So also now, that's one of the reasons. And also I think Jamaica reset in terms of that we have this third term for the JLP, and it gives Jamaica now facing 2030 that okay, everything balanced out now. So 2030, you guys have your time, PNP have your time. Okay, so we cannot do the tick for tat, say this and that. There's no more blame game to go around. So 2030, I think we are going to probably once and for all end the diad madness and vote for people who really get stuff done, because there's no way. I mean, let me say this, not there's no way, but it will be hard to sell anything to say PNP is at fault, because now you got 3 straight terms, and as the Google lady, Mrs. Simpson Miller, said, you actually have 4 victory in the last 5. So that you should have something great to present to the electorate in 2030. And not only Jamaica reset now, as to say the blame game ends right here. Also, a key point is that I think, and this is breaking news, and this will be my you see the topic anyway before you come into, but as at 33 minutes, I can officially say Jamaica is a JLP country. If you look at the way Bruce Golding won, coming from all those election victory after PNP under Patterson, and I know Simpson Miller barely won, and the COVID election, yes, and also Onus won his election, he barely won also, and his first term, and COVID created a landslide for the JLP. When you have outside issues, you usually get the landslide, and now you look at the election victory for this election, where that's a sweet spot for the JLP, a 32 to probably 35, 36 seat count victory. So if I think Jamaica, the JLP find a way to command and control 32 seats, which is all they need to form government, and that make Jamaica a JLP country, whether by far or not, that's not the point. So Jamaica is officially a JLP country. So now that's another issue that PNP have to face. how to get to that 32, the road to 32 to form government. And that could be a hard task because 32 seats, at least 32 to 35 seats, is solidified as JLPC, regardless of what the history of those seats were. It's solidified as a JLP seat. So Jamaica is a JLP country. And I'm not sure right on that piece that I had in my head a while ago, but it had left me. So that is what the issue is. And you're not necessarily stronghold seats, but it is. So now, like I said a while ago, politicians really have to work to create election victory. And remember, my fellow Jamaicans, the electorate, you hold the power. It's not the PNP have power, not JP have power. The power is within the people. And you must demand that people function and get stuff done. And I think unfortunately the PNP, especially in those inner city strong seats, need to wake up and have more vision that there's a bigger world out there and a better world, and they must demand better roads. They must demand better infrastructure, strong properties and buildings and so forth. Businesses, enterprising, sports, art, the entire Jamaica, but more so, more need to be demanded. But let me move along. And just one minor issue before I close this video, I think I have it all together, is the issue about not letting people vote close to 5 p.m. The reason why it should not be an issue because the argument wasn't presented properly to make it an issue. If it was that in certain areas aligned to PNP, votes were not police stations were closing at 5 and not letting people in to vote who were already there. Me on my list. Then they have an argument. And even if it's a JP era too, that's an argument. But it seems as if it wasn't partisan voter suppression. It was a general issue. That's a claim, not saying it's factual, I'm just saying that's the claim. That is alleged that there was voter suppression because people were not let in to vote that were probably already in the line, or some kind of questioning of issues around the 5 p.m. voting cutoff time frame. So since it wasn't a partisan issue, it wasn't just one side that was having a problem, then it's not an issue. It seems as if it actually was a non-issue. You understand? And the reason why I find it kind of weird is that I understand people have things to do, and the vote is a very important, it's a very single most important thing for a nation's survival. Voting, expressing your right to vote, that's the power you have to make your country move. But voting at 5 p.m. is a cutoff time. It's kind of strange. And 5 p.m. Well, I don't know if they should move it to 6. 6 could be a little risky because people work until 5 and try to run to vote at 6. Hopefully in 2030 we could make it easier for people to, if those that still have to go to work, make it easier for people to leave work and go vote in time. But anyway, guys, that's my piece and that's my closing. And again, I'm asking you to please like, share, and subscribe and spread this video. All right, thanks.